Hey, everybody, it's David Sikorsky with CCA coming to give you an update here on Friday, May 1st. This is our April update, but yes, I know it's May. And with May comes some changes here. First and foremost, let me pull up the Facebook page of Maryland DNR. You can see now that May 1st through 15th is a catch and keep season, as they just announced. One fish per person, 19 to 24 inches. And so this is part of that new seasonal realignment, the baseline, which came into place this year in 2026. Also, you may have seen recently there was some back and forth on black sea bass and flounder, whether or not the seasons would mesh with the federal regulations, and thankfully that was all taken care of. And so today is the first day of black sea bass season, and it's a 12.5-inch size limit, 15-inch bag through the end of the year. The official notice from DNR is something you should keep an eye out for, because these are the official notices that you need to follow. And if you have questions, of course, the agency, wherever you're fishing, is the one you want to look to, whether it be federal waters or state. In this fishery, because it is managed in both federal and state waters, there is a coordination between the states, and thankfully the state regulations are what are leading the way now. Up until a couple of days ago, folks were concerned that the season may not open and that the regulations in the federal waters would be really, really stringent. So they were going to affect a lot of folks up and down the coast. And thankfully, NOAA got this cleaned up for the recreational fishing community so that it's now consistent across the region. And so, as always, check out our website. We have lots of great events always on tap. I have to mention some fantastic things that have been happening the last few weeks. Of course, we've had 4 great fundraising banquets, February, March, and April this year. The Central Region chapter finished out in April with a great event out at Ligonor. Earlier in that week, we built a reef. You're going to see some pictures of that, so check that out. And then the last couple of weeks, we've been rocking and rolling with chest packs, reef ball builds down in Calvert County starting back in March. We just kicked off our Eastern Shore reef ball build, thanks to our great partners at Gillespie Precast, who really were the driving force behind getting that trailer on the road. And title sponsors like Frosty's HVAC at our Kent Narrows banquet. You know, that funding is directly supporting the Eastern Shore LRAC program, and lots of different folks from back, many different events now made it possible to bring this trailer on the road. So now we have 3 nearly identical 20 mold, low profile reef ball building trailers that are out there. And the fourth and 5th grade at Greensboro Elementary got to take part in building 20 reef balls last week. During a really cool Earth Day celebration. Prior to that in the week, we worked with McDonough School, where all their 7th graders helped us build, I think it was like 34 reef balls, a big activity. So we've been busy making your next fishing spot and couldn't do it without our fantastic partners. So actually, let me just jump to that reef since I'm talking about it. On our website, you'll see 200 student-made reef balls land at Little Cove Point Reef Site. It's a few less, but we have another deployment coming soon, not far from here. Right by 79A, Piney Point and Breezy Point area. So Southern Maryland, we're paying attention to you. We're bringing some stuff down your way. And here's what it looks like. So you'll have to read this article from Molly Rudo, who led the charge for our team. There she is checking a GoPro camera that plunges to the bottom with the reef balls. You can see right here, there's a really cool rig that has a cable that goes through the middle, and then a special pin, and then a float. And you'll see in a minute how that works on the bottom. So the crew, of course, is all nice and safe up here on the deck, getting their job done with the team at CBF. Here's the mouth of the Pax River, and the Maury site, the Little Cove Reef Point site, is right here. And then this is a piece from the aquaculture sighting tool. So this is a really cool technology that we have available to us. It's GIS. There's lots of different layers. This big box is the original Yates bar. These are pound net sites, might be in use, might not be. The purple stuff is some restoration sites where work's been done before. But what's important here is on this Murray site, pardon me, you go to the aquaculture sighting tool, you can see what's what here, and you can turn this layer on, you can turn it off. You can see this bottom type, it is natural oyster reef and rubble, some sand, and then some mud. So we look at this, and the folks at DNR that oversee Maury with us make sure that we pick a good spot. So coming back to our website, we'll update this shortly, but the reef balls were all placed right about here up on this the shell bottom and the sand bottom. We do that on purpose to make sure that they're going to be sitting on solid bottom and deep enough to avoid any sort of navigational issues, but shallow enough to avoid dead zones and that type of problem that can happen. You can see right here that the cable actually loosened up and the pin came out, which is by design, dropping these reef balls on the bottom. So the team at CBF worked in the general area, logging the deployments as the permit requires and dropping them to the bottom. So when we, as you know, if you paid attention in the past, when we find a reef site that needs some material, we keep looking at it. So stand by for hopefully some more there. But if not, we've got some other on tap for Southern Maryland. And again, we will share some more detailed information, but the coordinates are right here in bold at the top of the site. And also, when you're using aquaculture sighting tool, you can use the cursor actually at the bottom here shows you, the system shows you where your cursor is. And I can tell you that the deployment was right about in the left side of the diamond, the Maury diamond. So kind of right in there. In fact, whoop, hit the wrong button. Right here in this hook. So if you look at the benthic habitat stuff, right in the hook. Anyway, that's what we're up to. So, oops, didn't want to do that. Going to go to the next tab. Also, let me just go back to our website real quick and remind you that the Great Chesapeake Invasives Count kicked back off in April. And so next week on Live with Lenny, we'll be giving away prizes. A bunch of folks, everybody that registered in the month of April is entered to win an Akuma fishing tackle combo from Anglers Sports Center. They'll be able to pick it up at Anglers once we draw their name. Angle Coolers, the official cooler of CCA Maryland and CCA Virginia, is supporting this effort as well. So each and every month, you're going to be looking at products from Angle, Toadfish, lots of different companies come together to sponsor it, and local tackle shops. It's free to sign up. So if you're fishing for snakehead, blue cats, or flatheads in the Chesapeake Bay watershed, participate in this and stand by. We're going to be giving away some prizes in case any of our participants catch any tag snakeheads in the next month. So stand by for that. It's a fun event. And again, it's free to participate in. But as always, our other events are right here on our calendar. This weekend is Catfish for Kids. Check this one out. If you can get out fishing tomorrow or Sunday, excuse me, darn allergies. Everything you need to see is right here on our website. You can click a link to Angler's website, get signed up. It's free for 12 and under, and it's a real cheap entry fee. And the best part is all the proceeds go to Combos for Kids, their youth fishing program that we're so proud to partner with. So check out that big spread of prizes. Also some Angle coolers that we're tossing in there thanks to their support. And you can see what folks did last year. So again, a $25 donation. You go fishing anywhere in the bay. You're fishing for blue cats. You get there and you weigh your fish in at the store. And we'll be there cutting blue catfish on Sunday. So if you hear this by then and you're ready to get out there or maybe not fishing, but want to come out and help, come on out. We need some help cleaning fish and just in general hanging out and sharing the good word about this cool fishery and the opportunities to put some good protein on your plate and take some kids fishing. Again, throughout our site, you'll find our reef ball builds, some things we're doing out in the future that might be volunteer opportunities, as well as some chapter nights. So there's an Anglers Night Out on May 14th with our Greater Washington chapter. And then on the Virginia side of things, Anglers Night Out at Herndon at the Amphora Diner. We'll have Captain Anthony Cubbage coming out to talk. These Anglers Nights are a great chance to grab a bite to eat and then hear a talk, network, meet people from the chapters. And folks in Virginia, we've got some other great events coming out further down the state here in 2026 and are looking to work with more people throughout the Commonwealth. So if you're interested, reach out and give me a call. Of course, also a big part of what we do is our advocacy work. So let me point to the ASMFC website. The spring meeting is happening next week. So asmfc.org. You click on the spring meeting agenda. You can find all the information and in a really good and logical setup website here at ASMFC. You've probably seen me share this before, but check it out. Pending actions. We have a Menhaden action that the board's considering putting out to public comment. And then a Tautog draft addendum is being discussed with potential action moving that forward. Ultimately, Tautog are in need of some conservation. Menhaden, the management action is looking at what's happening in the Chesapeake Bay with the large industrial reduction fishery and how it impacts the ecosystem and other users. There's been a lot of conversation around declines in osprey success and population. It's been decades that anglers have expressed concern about bycatch and the impacts of taking large sections of fish out of the Chesapeake Bay and how that impacts predators and economies and ecosystems. You know, this is a long-lasting issue, but you can find out more about what the Menhaden board is up to here on the agenda. You can also log in. So 8:30 on Tuesday morning, listen in, throw an AirPod in, check out what's going on. You're going to hear a lot about how it's impacting various portions of the industry, the ecosystem, and the board will deliberate. I serve on all the other species boards, but not the Atlantic menhaden or river herring and shad board. This will be overseen in a legislative proxy seat by Dr. Allison Colden. So I highly recommend you log in there and keep an eye out for other action items related to menhaden, especially if this addendum gets out for public comment. It'll be a chance for the public to show up and share with folks up and down the coast, but also in Annapolis and in Richmond, what we think about the action that the board ultimately releases. And again, there's lots of different ways you can participate online. The striped bass board meeting will happen after Tautog on Monday, so 1:30 to 3:30. Lots of good information around what's happening next. How's the work group process going to move forward? What does that look like? Who will be on the work group? What's the timeline? What are the goals? The board is putting together this work group to try and envision what's happening in the 2030s, really. Remember that spawning stock size striped bass are 7 to 8 years old. It takes a while. We've had 7 bad years of spawn. We can kind of predict what's going to happen with the depleted and smaller population of juvenile fish. We need some good young of year. Everybody knows that, but it does take a while to play out into the fishery. And so I think you'll find some good information being discussed at this meeting. I highly recommend logging in at 1:15 on Monday. And again, asmfc.org. Check out the spring meeting. Speaking of striped bass and speaking of the spring, the Striped Bass Initiative came to the Chesapeake this spring to tag 20 fish with some super high-tech tags and 20 large fish, breeding age fish, female fish. 38 to 47 inches is what they tagged. 20 different fish, and you can find lots of great media here on their Instagram, also on their website. And so the Striped Bass Initiative, hold on, I'm clicking something I've never clicked before. There it is. The Striped Bass Initiative came to the Chesapeake, worked with Griffin's Guide Service and Fish Talk magazine. Lenny Rudo will tell you that he caught the biggest fish in the group. It was a 47-inch fish that has these tags. And again, there's some interesting videos of both the tagging process, getting the fish here onto the deck, relaxed with the towel over its face, cleaning the instruments, placing the tags on it. Y'all can check that out on your own. This is a really cool one too. This is some of the information that the scientists have live access to. The fish is tagged. It's off to the races. That blue tag can float up to the surface when the fish are near their surface. And as you can see here, they're plotting total swimming distance in miles over time. So knowing that the fish is going to keep swimming, right? If you were to see one of these drop off and no more swimming miles happen by one of those fish, we can guess what happened to it. But there it is swimming around. Again, this is on their Instagram. I highly recommend you follow that and check out their website. Also, they'll be doing some fundraising here soon, or always fundraising for this great science. So stand by, because we're excited about helping elevate the program they're doing. Of course, recreational anglers caught these fish, and we always hear about the different impacts that all different fisheries have. And advancing this science, advancing this data is a great move, especially in the Chesapeake Bay, as we try and understand how we can allow access to anglers, but also make sure these fish are headed to the spawning grounds. And so again, on this map here, it looks like what they're showing is over time through March into early April, the fish did head into the various rivers after being caught. One of the things that we hear about and people are concerned about is called fallback. The idea that if a fish is impacted on its spawning run, it may turn back. Something that is concerning, but also that's a big reason why all the places these fish went are closed to recreational angling. And so, again, one little piece of the puzzle. It's not going to be definitive to tell us exactly what's happening with these important fish, but I wanted you all to be aware of that and check it out. Also, as I was over here on Facebook before, I want you to make sure that you're following DNR on their various channels. We keep the links in our link tree for both states to try and make sure our folks that follow our stuff can find the right information, but make sure you're checking it out. DNR puts a lot of great information out. They review all this stuff with the Sport Fisheries Advisory Commission. That's one way we have CCA members engaging in Maryland. There's lots of different ways in Virginia to engage as well with the VMRC. Our two states have different ways of managing our fisheries, whether it's leadership and trained folks at DNR making decisions or in the legislature, but also and then in Virginia, you have nominated and appointed people that actually make the decisions for VMRC. So there are some differences, but keep an eye on this type of information. Look for the official source. Also, another important thing that has been shared recently is the expansion of the Barron and James Island spoil collection areas. And so there's some notices out that DNR has shared for anglers and for boaters to make sure they're avoiding these certain areas. So this is just off of Hooper Island, Tar Bay, outside off of Barren Island. Again, this is where the dredge spoils come into, the dredge containment sites, and there is some active work being done. So again, stay keyed in on all these types of channels. We'll do our best to share what we can across social media, so check it out below. Social media is a big part of how we share information to all of you about what's going on here in the region. So hope you're all doing well and enjoying the spring, getting out there and going fishing, and have some great stuff planned into the future. Again, sign up for the Great Chesapeake Invasives Count and keep an eye on ways that you can get involved in our chapters. Head to our website, bookmark our link trees in both Maryland and Virginia, and make sure you share CCA with friends. We are a grassroots organization of passionate people working together to make sure we're ensuring the health and conservation of our resources and your access to them. So get out there, go fishing, and most importantly, introduce the next generation to fishing. We need that future, and it will be a bright one if we do our job. Thank you.